Omar, thanks for being with us. I want to ask you, first of all, about the statement that we heard from the Egyptian foreign minister earlier on Saturday. What did you make of that?
It's a hint that the continuation of the eradication policy, if you wish, we're not heading towards a compromise, but we're heading towards a more of an open confrontation scenario. The rhetoric is very much a repetition of the Mubarak era rhetoric, turning precisely a political problem that was intensified on July 3rd by a military coup and a takeover, suspending the constitution, dissolving the parliament, arresting the president, and then 3 successive major massacres of killing the protesters who are pro this president or anti-military in general. And then turning this political crisis into a security problem, that it's just a matter of terrorists taking up arms against the state, between quotations, which is very much an inheritance of the older policies of Mubarak rhetoric, and mainly given the ironic level by Mubarak era figures who are formulating this and are at the front of the scene at the moment.
I want to ask you though, Omar, when you say that they are trying to turn this into a purely security situation rather than a political one, if you talk to a lot of Egyptians who've seen this firsthand, and we just mentioned some of the reports there earlier about these attacks on Christian churches, for example, by many of these groups, and people saying that many of them were armed as well. I mean, the army and the interim government that is being backed by the army, they say they have the support of the people in what they are doing right now, and that they are trying to restore order. What do you say to that?
Well, the country is extremely divided, and the level of violent polarization is quite high. But the country was divided before in 1954, when part of it wanted a parliamentary democracy and back to the 1923 constitution, and another part of it wanted a charismatic strongman, more or less an authoritarian figure in the form of Nasser. And at that point, Egypt lost when the pro-Nasser or the pro-authoritarianism won. Egypt lost its basic freedoms and its the credibility of its democratic institutions for 6 decades. We see this being repeated again. The country is again divided, but this is what elections do. When you the 99% pro-leader, pro-great government, it does not function in a democracy. In a democracy, you have the 51% against the 49%, and then the rules of combat, if you wish, and the rules of engagement are through institutions and through votes. But when the votes are being just dismissed like that, and you have a very politicized armed institution that is pretty much above the law, above accountability, then you end up with a situation like that. You end up with the political violence, the violent the sectarian violence that we're seeing, and basically protesters being killed in the street. And this is so far away from the expectations and the slogans of the January 2011 revolution: the dignity, the freedom, the social justice, the bread. All of this is quite far at the moment.
Omar Ashour, thanks very much for your perspective.